Okay. This is just a check to be sure that we are live. See. Okay. Yes, we are live. I can see that we're live on TikTok. Yeah. Yes, I can see that we're live on YouTube, and then the last one is Facebook. All right. So good evening, everybody, and you're welcome to Mentee to Mentor series once more. This is one of the episodes that I have always been looking forward to, and it will be good for you to as you're joining us. Let's know where you're joining us from. Welcome, you're welcome to the series. All right, so you're joining us on Facebook. We're going to see your comments. You're joining us on TikTok. We're going to see your comments also. So feel free to contribute as we usually do, as we do every time. So feel free to contribute, and let's hear from you. Now, Mentee to Mentor series is one of those series that we bring up. We are speaking about a topic that is not mostly spoken about. And there are a lot of books about leadership, very little books about uh, followership. Most of the time, we are concentrating about the leader, the leader, the leader. But we've always heard this thing, and it's true. There is no good leader that is not a good follower. So, for you to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. Now, one of the ways that we see a clear example or an epitome of followership is mentee mentor relationship. And in that, we now have started having this conversation about being a great mentee, but having a mentee mentor relationship where we have conversations with people that have been mentors, people that are mentors, but people that have been mentees themselves, and they have, I don't say immersed, but they have a lot of experience with dealing with different kinds of people, and they're able to tell us what an ideal mentee is. What is the ideal way to have this relationship between the mentor and the mentee? And that's what we're talking about. So you're welcome to Mentee to Mentor once more. And I can say, okay, yes, I can see us. So you're following us on TikTok. Yes, we're going to be see where I can see you guys. Also, thank you for joining us. Now, so let me go to our guest. Our guest today is one of the few females that we've had in this session and in this series rather. But this the series itself, when everything was in the pot while we're still cooking, while it was still in the incubator rather, while it was still in the incubator, and we're looking at, okay, who are the people that I have had an interaction with, and I'm sure that they are able to speak about this topic properly, and not just be able to speak about it, the people that have experience also with it. And her name came up, and not that we didn't want to put a lot of females, but then we wanted people that we actually know and people that we can vouch for. So we don't you don't get we don't get people that after we have the session we now start doing damage control. Okay, that's what we're not going to have that. I'm very sure. Okay, so her name is Etoro. I know it's popularly known as a Etoroabasi author. And thank you so much for joining us. Somehow I can't see her face again. Her video, is it on my end? Okay, it's not on my end. Okay, so we're so excited to have her. And if we were in a physical room right now, I'll say uh with a standing ovation, clap, a shout, and a jump, help me welcome our guest for today. And she's somebody that you really really want to listen to. Somehow we're trying to introduce her and then her video went off, but she'll be back soon. I can still see her. She's backstage. I can still see her backstage. Yeah. So she has before she speaks, she's someone that has been doing this for a while. She's someone that has a good number of following. I met her through my wife, and they have this community of women, and they do a lot of things. And I don't want to encroach and say it for myself. I will allow her to do the introduction and just tell us a little bit about what she does, who she is, and what she does. Thank you so much. We're shouting and clapping and screaming backstage. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Etoroabasi Arthur. I am an Akwa Ibomite, Ibibio tribe, Nigerian. So I I do a whole lot of things. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a beauty care brand, a natural skincare brand that's Effie. And then I have a community of women. It's an African community. So of women from all over Africa, different African countries. We are over 2,500 members in the community. And we've been running that for like 4 years now. Yes. We've been running that for 4 years now. And um those are the very unique things that I do. And then from time to time, I'm a mentor as well, private mentorship. I'm a public speaker as well. And I own journals. I own journals for career women as well. So I'm very glad to be here on the station tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As you're talking about yourself, it sounded like I was reading the LinkedIn profile of some people. You know how LinkedIn can be scary.
Yeah.
Yes, but then at some point, that was how it was. Thank you. We're so glad to have you. So when you mentioned something, when you mentioned about a community of about 2,500 persons,
Yeah.
I I immediately recalled what I heard from somebody before, and he said, "You're joking with the number of people that are following you. You're joking with the number of followers that you see on social media." For
Yeah.
instance, he said, "Just picture yourself. There are a lot of, I'm sorry to use churches, but then there are a lot of, for instance, churches now that their membership is not up to 300, and
True.
300 is a very good number for a
Very
church.
big no.
So you
True.
can imagine how you're able to command that level of influence with for amongst a group of highly intellectual women
Yeah.
of up to 2,500, and you've been doing that for 4 years. There are so many things I want us to talk about. I am
Yeah.
just praying that it doesn't make us veer off from the topic of our conversation, because
Yeah.
I'm intrigued already.
Thank
However, okay, so how do I touch everything? All right, this is how I think we should start. So
you. All right.
just how did you get to who who told you that you could do this? How did you get to this point?
All right.
Let's know a little bit about your journey. How do you sit down and believe that 2,500 people at least, because that's not the end. How do you believe that 8,000 people, 1,000 women will follow you? You will follow a set vision all over, uh, not only in Nigeria now,
Yeah.
across different countries. How did you get there? What's your story?
So growing up, I when we say there is a flock of sheep, right? Growing up, I always saw it like in a crowd, in a flock of sheep. We have those in front, we have those in the middle, we have those behind. So I had always believed that I was one of the sheep that would go in front. And I did that through realizing the very little things that I could do. Growing up as a young girl, we had class leaderships then, right? So this leadership in class actually helped shape me. And I went into secondary school. It was the same thing. It was more like character development. And from character development, when they say catch them young, when you actually grow at some point, you grow this thing with you, this thing grows with you, you realize that it becomes a part of you. And um going into adulthood, going into adult stage, you realize that this is something that you want to turn into um, a greater thing. You want to give value. You just don't want to be that class leader anymore. You don't want to be that small circle leader anymore. You want to lead with purpose. You want to give value in the process. So that was how it was built. And I always saw myself in that place where, okay, I could actually stand in place for a lot of women who were lost, a lot of women who were confused about what they wanted to do with their lives. I felt like I am not there yet, right? We always say, oh, we're living life for the first time. We are all here for the first time, right? No one has had that prior experience before now. But then I believe that with the very little things that I have learned from life, I can actually help shape the next person, not just women. I can help shape the next boy, the next man. I can help shape the next girl, the next woman. And that was how Soul Sisters Africa was born. Soul Sisters Africa was born out of the purpose that we bring women together, not just to get firsthand mentorship from me, but to learn from other women, to learn if they were actually alone in certain things, if they were confused about certain things, the community women were always going to lend helping hands to them. And I stood in place of leadership at some point as well. You know, we had to host programs, we had to host workshops, we had to host seminars, we had to host very different hangouts where I spoke to these women physically and virtually. I spoke to these women, I shared all of these ideas. And yes, at some point, it actually felt like, yes, um, I was pretty young for some of the members, right? We had members in their 30s, we had members in their 40s. I remember going to an event and I was the youngest there. We had women talking about sharing experiences, talking about their daughters, and their daughters were almost my age. And I was like, what exactly am I going to tell them that they've not heard before? You know, it's more like their daughter giving them life experiences. What is that thing? But that day it made me realize that leadership is not just in age, it is in what you have to offer. It is not even in experiences, right? It is in the value you have to, because at some point when it got to my time to speak to them, it was more like an intimate gathering in a living room, you know. So when it got to my time to speak, at first I was timid because these women were more advanced than me. You know, we're talking about corporate women, 9 to 5 women, women who are retiring and all of that. So I was like, what am I going to tell them that they've not heard before, right? So I was led in my heart to speak something to them, and at that point, I spoke it so boldly, and everyone was calm, listened to me, nodded their heads, and it built the confidence in me to tell them more. So at the end of the gathering, a few women came to me, applauded me. You did very well. So this actually helped build whatever I had, helped build, made me know that, oh, it is not in age, it is not in the capacity, it is what you carry that takes you farther.
That was inspiring. Actually, that
Okay.
was so good,
Thank you.
so good, and I could relate to some of the things that you said about, especially about leadership from primary school, from secondary school, and I could really relate to it, and how you were able to transform that into something that could be bigger than what you experience. You didn't want to be the class leader anymore, just the school leader. You now converted it into something that could be global. Is really, really inspiring. I can believe, I can understand. I think I had an experience one time. I traveled to one of these states. I think it was Benin, Edo State, I guess. So I went to speak, and my nature, I am very slim. I'm slender looking and very young. And I went to to speak to people that were way older. I didn't know the caliber of people that will be in the meeting, but when I got into the meeting, I discovered that they will say, "Ah, no, Prof wanted to go." They were celebrating Prof. They were, different sets of people, and I remember they were saying, "Ah, we need to wrap up because they had weddings to go. They wanted to go to different places, so they wanted us to hurry up." And I remember that kind of experience. Me too. I felt at some point that, what will I tell this man? What will I tell them? But from training, from experience, and some other things, I decided, okay, I was going to change the way I was going to start speaking and everything. I gave them what will get them to stay. And we continued, we now felt, um okay. So as we continued the session, nobody left. Prof, when we were done, the prof said, he wanted to see me, and we spoke a little, and he was like, "Oh, that was so good. I never knew this, never knew that." So sometimes we tend to get intimidated by what we've seen on the outside, and the thing is, the reason why we may be intimidated by what we see on the outside is because we do not have the ability. Sometimes, not every time, we grow to have it, but we don't know have the ability to actually look at ourselves. When you are within a system or within a box, you don't have the ability to holistically take a look at it, except you come up or you step out and then you look at it. So you don't know. You don't know how good you are. You may not know how loaded you are. And then there's something, quote unquote, called imposter syndrome. So, but whoever is listening, young, old, you really have something to offer. You really, really have something to offer. And thank you. This was not how I planned that we are going to have this conversation. This was not part of it. But she has dragged us into where we are now. But then we'll continue from here. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Now, let's talk a little about you said you do some mentorship one on
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, one on one. Do you do group mentorship, or you just do the private personal one on one mentorship?
Well, it depends on what the mentee wants. Sometimes there are certain stories, certain experiences that you want to share with your mentor that you do not want a third party to hear. So that is when we now decide, okay, this is going to be a one-on-one mentorship. But in situations where we are open and we are very comfortable enough to share our experiences, no matter how it is, then we can always opt for an open mentorship, right? And when you know that, okay, the conversation surrounding this session is something that everyone can relate to, yes, you can open that to everyone. But when you know that this person wants a tailored conversation, something that they do not, it's not like, oh, they've heard this thing before, they've heard it for the 10th time, they just want something tailored to their needs. That is when we now opt for um the one-on-one mentorship.
Okay, so it depends on the needs of
Yeah,
the.
very well.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so it depends on the needs of the
Yeah,
mentee or the person that comes, so you can actually do both the
sure.
group or the one-on-one mentorship. All right,
Yeah.
so just a quick one. Is there any mentee you have had that stood out for you? A
Oh yeah.
mentee, an experience you've had, a mentee, you don't have to mention names, but then a mentee that stood out for you, and why?
Yes, I did actually. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Why she stood out for me was because her story was different, right? This was not the person who was confused about what to do with her life at some point. This was not someone who just wanted to see the light at the tunnel, or how can you hold my hand to see the light and all of that. This was a woman who was perceived to have it all. She was perceived to have it all. She had um, her business going on. She was working a 9 to 5 as well. She was married and with kids. But one would actually wonder, what did she want to be mentored on? And I think she was in her mid 30s as well. So she came to me. Her marriage was crashing at the time, and she has just had a newborn baby. And I realized that she had been abused in her marriage, and she needed help. She needed help to stand up. She knew what she wanted for herself. She knew very well when it was time to walk away. She had 3 kids. She just had a few months baby, and imagine having a few months baby and having to make the decision to dissolve the marriage. So it was very difficult for her, but it was a decision that she had to make. But then she had grown into this lady where most of her decisions were engineered by her husband. As a then, most of the finances and everything. So she wanted to stand up again, this time around on her own, this time around with me holding her hands. So she wanted to stand up again. She knew very well what she wanted to do, the next line of action for her business. She knew very well the boundaries she was going to set, but she was too weak to stand up on her own. And this was not a situation where she wanted to tell her friends about it. You know how it is when the whole see finish thing. So she came to me, and she was a member of the community. I was a total stranger to her only a few weeks before, right? So it was a privilege that she came to me, a total stranger, and she was very comfortable to talk about this. And I had to hold hands and go through the process. I checked on her from time to time. I told her this is not going to be like the usual consultation mentorship programs. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm paid to do this thing, so you're going to hear the things you've heard before. No, it's going to be like friendship. It's going to make you feel you're not alone. Not just feel you're not going to be alone in this. I'm going to check up on you. I'm going to check on your progress status, the whole things you've been doing, and how difficult it is to go through certain things. I'm going to be there for you. So it actually felt more friendship than official. I had to tell on myself to be her friend, and this was like let's say 2 years ago, like I said. But believe me, as at last month, she reached out to me. Oh, how have you been? It's been a while. Why? Because if the longest we can go, let's say 2 months without reaching out to each other, I always make sure I reach out to her. At what point are you at? Is it difficult right now? And she just pours out her heart to me. And that is just one person that stood out for me amongst others. So she's doing better by the day. That is it.
Oh, that's nice. She's doing
Okay.
better by the day.
Yeah, sure.
And which is intriguing. Now,
Yeah.
the reason why it got me interested when you said was that, but at first when the person came, it seemed okay. Not seemed, she looked older. It seemed that everything in her life was going on well.
Yeah.
Now, I just a quick question: how did she come to you and ask you for, was it that she came and said she wanted mentorship or she needed help navigating this particular season of her life? How
Yeah.
did it go? The reason why I'm asking this is because there are people that have come to request for something of sorts, or maybe guidance, navigation, mentorship, but from their conversation, choice of words, and things like that, I just knew that nah, this person was not a serious person. Right.
All right. I'll be with
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So how did you know that this person was actually a serious person, and you needed to pick the person and go all
Okay.
the way?
Yeah, like you said. serious person, because trust me, that has always been a very big challenge for me. Most times they come, they feel like not like they feel, you see them, and it's like, oh, they've got no option. That is the very last option. You either help them or they drown, right? And
Yeah.
then you can actually schedule a time. Okay, is this time convenient for you? And they go ahead. Oh yes, yes, yes. It's fine. Anytime is fine. And then at the end of the day, you air your opinion to them, tell them everything, and give them a timeline for certain things, and they just vanish. And it's you running after them now. You're telling them, right? It's you running after them, because I've actually had I had a session last month with a few ladies. This was an open thing with a few ladies. I poured out my heart to them. I almost cried. I poured out my heart to them. I told them, because it was the beginning of the year. So everyone had this, oh, I'm so lost. I don't want to go through another year being the same person. I want to change. I want December me to be very proud of January me. So, in the light of that, I gathered them. Okay, fine. Let's go through this. I gave them not just theoretical um, things to technical know-hows. I gave them very practical ones as well. I went as far as telling them, okay, for the business owners, if you need any guidance on how to shoot yourself out there on social media, I am always here. You know, it was as real as everything. I was not limited to the time. I went on and on. Oh, let's go about this. I am going to guide you. I am going to hold your hand through it. They were very cool. They were very eager. I gave them assignments. I told them, especially for the business ladies, oh, this is what you should do. If your social media presence is weak, because your business would always need visibility, if your social media presence is weak, this is what you should do. I sent them templates. I promised to reach out to them since I had given them an assignment to be submitted in a week. So I gave them a week window. I reached out to each of them after 2 weeks. And guess what? Oh, Effie, I'm so sorry. Effie, I have been so busy. Effie, don't worry, I'll send it. Oh, don't worry, I'm still working on it. I'll send the feedback, I'll send the assignments. And I'm telling you, this is ending of February, and not one of them have reached out. Not one. You know? So when people say, oh, they actually want to climb up the ladder and they need someone to hold their hand, someone who the perceive has been there. And then this person turns their back to go back, hold their hands and walk this path with them and do it genuinely with no charges sometimes, right? You realize
Most of the
that, yes, you realize that some of them just admire the idea of you, but they are not willing to put in the work to be that person that you are, and even more. They just admire the idea that, oh my God, I love the way you show up. I love the way things are working for you. I love the way you can strategize and it works out. Now I'm giving you my strategy. I'm giving you that time that barely anyone gave me that time that I needed. And it looks like, okay, it's free. So it's not, whether it's free or not. I have actually noticed that whether it's free or not, and I think it's even worse for the ones who pay for mentorship. They feel like, okay, they paid you, so they own the time. So you go around, oh, are you free by
yeah.
this time? You go around and it looks like, oh, you're bothering them, right? So the belief that, oh, it's paid, so they can always come around anytime and all of that. So for her, I had to watch her over and over again. I had to watch, oh, is she really serious about this? It wasn't just a one off conversation, it happened sequentially. And I just believed, okay, she needed my help. She really needed my help. And she had actually, like I said, she had been coming around from time to time, hinting me at, oh, Effie, I want you to mentor me. But it's something I've always heard 101 times. So I,
Mhm.
till she opened up to me and told me how it was going for her, and that was how I had to pick up and do what I had to do. So it even goes into the very menial things as relationships as well. As much as I tell my mentees to be very careful about the things they come to me with, right? Because I'm all about growth, growth, growth. I'm all about, oh, how can I take how can I go from 0 to 100? How can I make value out of all this? So that is the kind of person I am. So I try to filter the whole relationship thing. But it's in most women's nature to always come around and talk about, oh, relationship, 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 right?
Of
And
course.
sometimes I feel like, okay, they have to be emotionally and mentally stable for them to go through the next phase of their life. And I realized that I spend so much time telling them the very raw truth that they are meant to go through. And then the next thing, they go back to the very things that they complained about. So
Hmm.
they just find themselves in ripple effects. So that's the challenges we mentors face when it comes to mentorship, when it comes to holding a mentee's hands. Are these mentees actually ready enough, as much as they say, oh, I'm very ready, I'm very eager? Are they ready enough to go through these things, these steps, these processes that these mentors have been through? So that is it.
Thank you, because it's a lot of things you said are so profound. A couple of things you said, I can bet you every guest that has come on this series has mentioned the same thing. Is that I have even complained about it so many times. I've said that the people that are looking up to you, or the people that come to you because they claim they want mentorship, what they are what they are doing is that they are enticed, they are attracted to the glamour, they are attracted to the lifestyle, they are attracted to the finished product. But then it's the same thing as setting goals. When you set goals, and then I think I gave this in the last series or so. When you're setting goals for yourself, you'll be like, I want to buy so I want to buy this. Let's use buying acquisition now. I want to buy this by the end of the year. I want to build a house by the end of the year. Now, you most of the time when we set our goals, we isolate the person from the outcome of the goal. So not knowing that when you want to buy a house of 500 million, there is a kind of person that buys a house of 500 million. It is not just the money. There is a kind of person that is able to afford it. So are you isolating yourself from the outcome, or from the outcome? Are you isolating yourself from the finished product? So you sit down and then you look at them, and they say, no, they see your picture, especially when I know when they see you on IG, or they see you on social media, they're like, I want my stuff to look like yours, but they don't know what it takes to create the content. They don't know what it takes. In fact, let's not even say the content. They don't know what it takes to be an excellent being, like a being that exudes excellence, a being that produces excellence in everything they do. So that alone is a process. So we keep saying, one line in the book, one line in the okay, so I've said it out. One line in the book is about um, a mentor is able to help you with the process. A mentor is able to reduce your losses. A mentor is able to reduce risks for you. However, the mentor does not eliminate the process. You will still go through it. You will still go through it. Personally, I have maybe one of my mentees going to hear this. Recently, we started our relationship recently. Two of them, I have given them a book to read and get back to me. I didn't. This was my first assignment to them. First assignment: read this book, get back to me. We're going to do a review. So I think I gave 2 weeks. I said, you can finish the book in 2 weeks, right? However, wherever you stop, call me, we'll do the review, and then we'll move on to the next thing that we need to move on. Because I saw that my first interaction, I saw that they needed the book. The day that we're supposed to have the review, I will give it to the lady. Fine. The lady was ill, so she had to be admitted that day or so. Or I fell ill. The first time I fell ill, the second time she fell ill. However, all these things that we're talking about now is November, December, January, February. We're in February, almost ending February. This is like 3 months. So there is no excuse whatsoever. If you are watching me, you know you are the one I'm talking about. Yes, it's you I'm talking about. And I am not going to tell them anything. I have decided I'm going to wait until they are ready and they come back, and then we'll continue. For them, I've carried their matter on my head. Whether they're serious or not, I will impose it on them. Now, but then this is something you said that I think this whole thing about not not taking the mentor's time serious is a matter of honor. I think honor is not just what you say or what you do. Honor is also the posture of your heart towards a person. Because when we agree on a time to meet, or we agree on a time to do something, and you don't do it, what you are communicating deliberately, or it may not be intentional, but what you're communicating is that my time is more important than yours. So are you respecting the mentor's time also? You should be able to respect the person's time. Because before I told you, okay, we're meeting in 2 weeks, I checked my calendar, I checked my schedule, and be like, okay, this is the things I have to do. Okay, I'm going to create time for this. And then I created the time and you don't show up. These are the issues. These are the issues. So I think one of the fastest ways to destroy a mentorship relationship is to disrespect time and ignore boundaries. Right? When you do that, you're going you're wasting it. Many mentees think that closeness gives permission, but mentorship doesn't cancel structure. To me, it doesn't cancel structure. I'm not going to say too much, right? But then, so we've mentioned, well, almost, yeah, the time that we said is, so you see, it's 9:40. Okay, so one more thing, and I've asked you about a mentee that stood out for you, and for some very good reasons, you said it stood out for you. I think a mentorship relationship can graduate to some level of friendship. It can graduate to some level of friendship, but it's a relationship that grows because you are building trust, you are building connection, you're communicating, there's proximity, there are things that happen, so it can grow to friendship. I think I really like that story that you gave. Now, one more example before I let you go. The example is this: what I asked you what mentee stood out for you, and then you mentioned. So you picked. I didn't say it stood out in a good or bad way. You picked the positive standing out. So I want you to give me an instance of somebody that stood out negatively. Yeah, the person stood out. The mentee stood out negatively, and let's use it as a lesson for people to avoid, mentees to avoid. Thank
All
you.
right. All right. So it's a very funny experience. She was a member of my community, and she came to me. She was a victim of domestic violence, and this was not to someone she was married to. Like I said, um, growing a community of women made me realize that women.
Okay. Hello, ma. So the audio is breaking on your end a
Oh,
little, and I really want to hear this very well.
okay. Are you
So
hearing?
yes, I can hear you now. Come again.
Okay, okay. So, like I said, this case was a case of domestic violence, and she was a member of my community. So, like I said, before now, growing a community actually made me realize that women have more relationship issues than personal growth issues. A lot of women. Trust me, a lot of women. I would always applaud the men for this. Men want to grow, men are thinking of the next thing they want to do. But a lot of women, a lot of young girls, oh my God, given the chance, they are turning the WhatsApp group to something else, talking about um all of those things. So she came to me, and I'm an advocate for anything concerning women, right? Women's security, women protection. And this was very concerning when she came to me talking about a case of domestic violence. And in quotes, this person was not married to her. So that was um even more upsetting. And they had been together for a long time. I think over 5 years, about 7 years. And she broke down the very things, and I realized that she was a victim of um, trauma. She was a victim of trauma, a victim of this victim that likes going back to their source of pain because they feel um no one else or this person does not see anything good in them, so it validates who they really are. So no matter what you tell them, oh, you're beautiful, you're capable of this. If that source of pain, if that source of torture does not say to them, does not counter, or does not say to them, don't feel good about it. So that was the position she was in, and it was very concerning. I spoke a whole lot to through it all. I spent this was a conversation that I would actually equate the messages she sent to me to that of um a 20 leaves textbook. It was much. We spent hours on WhatsApp that day, talking, voice notes, messages. So I left everything I was handling that weekend, spoke to her, followed up. And guess what? The next week, she posted this guy. She posted this guy and said, no one can come between us. My God. My God. My God. I couldn't say anything, you know. I could not say anything. I just sat there, looked at it, and I was like, okay, this is your choice, then you move with it. I never reached out to her till today to ask her, oh, why did you go back to? Because I did my bit to pull a fellow woman out of something, out of a traumatic experience, but she believed that, oh, this was best for her. So that was one that stood out negatively for me. I felt like regardless of the efforts to genuinely pull this girl out, sister, it's back to the very we spent the whole day about. And at that point, I asked myself, what exactly is all of this, you know? And then, it's actually concerning sometimes because they come to you and you don't even know how to start telling them, oh, I charge. Because you're already considering your time. You're considering previous experiences, right? The people you've spent time trying to talk words of wisdom into, trying to recommend books that they should go and read, habits that they should, and they just listen to you. That, oh, fine, I will. And then you go back to them, reach out to them because they almost never do. You reach out to them and they're giving you excuses, right? So at that point, the next person comes and you want to charge, but you just don't want to. You just can't start asking them, oh, this is how much I charge, because it feels insensitive. They're in a problem. They're telling you they want to be pulled out of this, and you're like, oh, this is how I charge. Because you're considering your time. So that is the problem. That is the problem. And that was what stood out negatively for me.
Just, you obviously wanted to come between them, and so she wasn't having it. She wasn't having nobody. One,
Honest.
I've heard a story like this that your own was saying nobody can come between them. Somebody I know spoke to somebody and then the person said either no goat or no monkey, something like that. I can't remember. Say that no monkey or no goats can come between us, and that was the end. Okay, so but then you
Yeah.
see, there's something also called Stockholm syndrome, and because I have some, I work in the humanitarian sector, and there's Stockholm syndrome, and victims of this kind of situations or things still find a way. Their coping mechanism is still going back to said people. I have a colleague, I have a colleague that whatever. In fact, when she was her own experience was that when they were speaking, they cried together.
Whoa.
They cried. Yes, they will cry together. They will talk. They will cry, pray, finish praying. They will come back, advise, do everything. At the end of the day, she went back.
Whoa.
It was so bad. She felt so bad. But then sometimes the traumatic experiences are beyond some people's control.
Sure.
But the things that you can control, please do. A mentor is not impressed by you coming. A mentor is not impressed by you just showing up. There's something I learned called teachability index.
Yeah.
One, by the way, that's one thing also I think with it is about humility, hunger. Why am I saying everything that is in this book? Humility, hunger, and teachability. But
Yeah.
mentioned something about teachability index, where where willingness meets your ability to execute.
Okay.
So if, for instance, people that are following us on this series, they come, so you come, they watch every day. Every time we finish, they come, they watch, and they comment. Now, your it shows that there is willingness on your own end, your willingness to change. You
Sure.
said men usually want to grow. I want to agree with you on that also. A lot of women have relationship problems. I really don't know, but then they're emotional beings.
It's sad.
So your willingness is your showing up. You came to learn. They came to you because they are willing. They feel they should change. However, now your ability, your willingness cannot act alone. As we have always heard that hope is not a strategy. So your willingness alone cannot act. But then when you are able to execute now, so your action meeting your willingness, that's what I call the teachability index. Because if your willingness is at 100 and your taking action is zero, anything you multiply by zero is zero. So if your teachability index is zero, you are wasting your time, or you are willing to act. You are just the person that acts and acts and acts, but you are not willing to stop, take a review, stop, take direction, do a course correction. Every time you may take speed in the wrong direction, and then you don't arrive at the intended destination at the end of the day. So these things can happen. There's a story. I may mix a couple of things up, but it's interesting every time I keep hearing about that. When I mentioned course correction, I remembered when I think it was America, they were trying to land on the moon, and then when they got back, the astronaut was asked. I don't know if it's Neil Armstrong. I'm not sure, but when he was asked about the what they did, he said they did everything correctly. He said as they were going in space, he discovered that I think every 5 seconds, I can't remember, but it's not up to a minute, maybe five or between 5 to 30 seconds, every 5 seconds or 30 seconds, they did a course correction. So they don't land outside the orbit that they were supposed to, outside the circumference that they were supposed to land, or so, something like that, maybe 30 seconds or so. Even with that course correction they kept doing, when they were about to land, they landed maybe 5 feet away or 2 feet away from the circumference that they were supposed to. Yes, from the circumference that they were supposed to. So if they had just shifted a little bit, they would have landed outside it, and it would have been a sad story. So there was always time to do a stop, do a check, do a review, take the right advice. Don't just take speed. There's this meme I've seen where there was a race in a school, relay race, and children were running. And the first person kept running, kept running, kept running. Gave it to the last person. The last person ran backwards. Ran, they were shouting yellow house, yellow house. Yellow House ran backwards and he was the last person to handle the baton. So the fact that he was running with speed but in the wrong direction didn't make sense at all. And me too, I've had experiences like this where people, you tell them do this, do this, do this. I've given this instance, but this particular mentee will not know that it is the mentee I'm talking about. This one, you will finish talking, or you will finish saying everything you want to say. The person will go and do what's in the person's mind. You will say everything as if something is blocking the person from hearing what you are saying. So if you're going to do what you want, you intend you if you already had what you wanted to do, why are you asking me? Now, I'm not saying every time everything your mentor says will be right and convenient for you to do. Sometimes your mentors are not omniscient. They will they may say something, and then in your heart of hearts you still feel, oh, the Holy Spirit is telling you to do something different. That's fine. But not every time. If in that case you don't need the mentor, right? But then these are the things that you go through. You're conflicted between telling them, okay, this thing you're going through, calm down first, I charge. Or you not discover that you didn't tell the person you charge because you were sympathizing with the person. And then after you gave the time you invested your time, your advice, you invested your prayer. Sometimes, okay, not every mentor, but mentors pray for their mentees. After I prayed for you, you went to post on your status and said, no one can come between us. That's a problem. It will take the Holy Spirit to let me not carry, let me not transfer aggression on her. But then these are the issues. So, however, but then in your last words now, so usually I'll ask my guests to say, in form of your last words, maybe there was something that you had in mind for this series and you wanted to say, but I didn't ask you a question in that line, so you didn't get to say what you wanted to say. So something like that, you can feel free to ask yourself that question and answer. Or if there is nothing like that, in form of your last words, what do you have for our audience?
So the last words to our audience tonight, I would actually tell you, first of all, for you to be here, it means you've shown a certain level of seriousness about yourself, your self development. You care so much about everything concerning you, and that is why you are here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So that's an upload. And I actually want to tell you, whatever situation you're in, do not be scared. There is always a way out. Whatever it is that you're going through at the moment, there has been worse scenarios out there. It is not a thing of competition, no comparison, right? But I'm telling you that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. And even before the end of the tunnel, there is hope. So you have to hold on. You have to, if you have to talk to someone, please do. And then on the other side, yes, please take your personal growth very seriously. If you have people in place to mentor you, if you have people in place to hold your hands through, I tell you, it's a privilege because um, in the past couple of years, I wasn't really opportune to have mentors in place. Everyone was always busy, everyone always had one or two. So I had to learn and unlearn certain things. And you know what unlearning and learning certain things on your own would do? It burns time. It burns time. That time is not there, I promise you. So if you actually come across someone who is ready to tell you the truth about life in certain areas and the things that they've been through, the things that they do not want you to go through, right? It means they care about you. It means they do not want you to burn that time. So please, you have to take it seriously. You have to show them the joy of every mentor is the feedback they get from their mentee. The fact that I can talk to you today and I see you do the very good things that I told you to do. I see you come to me. I don't have to run after you. I see you come to me. Oh, Effie, this thing I told you, I have done it. Oh, this is how it went about. That event you advised me to attend. I went to that event and I met lots of people. I met lots of valuable people. That is the joy of every mentor, not even the money, not even the word of mouth, not even the resources at the end of the day. It's the beauty in what you've become, the beauty in the progress you're making. If you make the slightest progress, it actually makes them come around the more. It makes them think about you. So please, you have to put yourself in front. You have to put yourself first. And you always have to consider your mentor as well. They are humans also. I promise you, no mentor has gotten there 100%. We are still trying to find our path as well. So the fact that we come back and try to hold your hands, it's more like a child and a toddler. A 7-year-old child who has crawled before. They keep walking. There are certain stages in their life, and then there is the toddler there. And the 7-year-old child is trying to look up to the teenager. The teenager is trying to look up to the adult. Everyone has someone they are looking up to at some point, right? And then let's say the mentee in this position is the toddler, and the mentor in this scenario is the 7-year-old child. A 7-year-old child seeing a toddler crawl, try to cry, get her attention, would always turn back, go back, carry her, regardless of the fact that, oh, she has someone she's looking out for at some point, she's looking up to at some point. So please, 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 please consider your mentors as much as you consider yourself. All right? Put yourself first, put your growth first as much as we put your growth and self development first. I'm rooting for every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Effie. Thank you so much. This is so profound. I cannot. Ah, so I have never looked at it in this light, where a toddler, a 7 year old, a 5 year old is always looking forward to carrying a toddler, forgetting the facts that they have not attained yet. Some things I've told some of my mentees is, have you ever seen me drinking diesel? It means since I don't drink diesel, I'm flesh and blood. Or have you ever come to my house and met me connected to electricity? I'm not a robot. I am human. And it's true. It's true. It's true. Thank you so much for your time. It has really been an interesting session. So, but before you go, your socials, I want you to, we're going to add it to the description of the YouTube video. However, so those links are going to be there. But however, I would like to hear your socials. How do we find you on
All
everywhere?
right. So you can find me on Instagram, Ethy Official. That's there's no gap. ETHYOFFICIAL. That's Ethy Official. That's where you can find me. And on Facebook, you can find me on Etoroabasi Arthur. So that's on Facebook, yeah. So I'm most active on those two apps.
All right, that's fine. Thank you so much. And then
You're
do you have a business page? Because you sell
oh yeah,
skincare,
oh
one or two
yes. So
things.
the business page is Effie Skin on Instagram. ETHYSKIN. There is no gap. Effie Skin on Instagram.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. I think
Thank you.
it's been an amazing time. Thank you for your time.
Thank
We
you.
shared, but we finally got to do it at the end of the day. It's been an amazing time. Thank you so much. And for everybody that stayed with us now live, thank you everybody on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. It's good to have you. For the support, we have a team of people in the background, uh, and everybody has been doing so well. Thank you so much to everybody. Our next session, funny enough, next week we have more than two sessions because we're rounding up next week. We have more than two sessions, and we hope to see everybody there. And I'm planning to give a gift to our most consistent viewers. So, and how do I get that? Except by your comments and followership. So, thank you very much, everybody. See you soon. And be a great mentee, be the best mentee that you can be. As a mentor, be the best mentor that you can be. Let the rest of your life be the best.